A simple timeline of the Esther Estepa case. This is the story of a young woman's disappearance. It is a story that captured the nation's attention. We will look at the facts. We will follow the events as they unfolded. The central question remains a stark one. What truly happened to Esther Estepa? The search for answers began on a seemingly ordinary day. It quickly spiraled into a complex investigation. The case highlights the intersection of modern life, social media, the grim realities of crime. We aim to present a clear, factual timeline. We will stick to what has been reported by law enforcement, credible sources. Tonight, we examine the known sequence of events. Esther Estepa was a young woman with a future ahead of her. Her family described her as vibrant and full of life. She was active on social media platforms, including TikTok. This detail would later become a significant part of the investigation. Her sudden absence created a void. It was a void that her family immediately felt. It was a void that her friends immediately felt. They knew something was wrong. Their initial calls to her went unanswered. Their messages were left unread. This was the start of a nightmare for those who knew and loved her. A simple missing person report would soon ignite a nationwide conversation. The case officially began when Esther's family contacted the authorities. They reported her missing. They explained that her lack of communication was highly unusual. It was completely out of character for her. Police took the report seriously from the outset. They began standard procedure for a missing person. Officers were dispatched. Initial interviews were conducted with family, close friends. The goal was to establish a timeline of her last known movements. Where was she last seen? Who was she with? These were the first questions in a long and difficult search for the truth. This case quickly moved beyond the local police department. It became a story followed by millions. People from all walks of life were drawn into the narrative. They followed the updates with a mixture of hope and dread. Her story resonated because it felt familiar. It was a story about a young person navigating the world. It was a story that could have happened in any town, to any family. The public's intense interest would become a double-edged sword. It brought widespread awareness to the search, but it also brought a wave of speculation, online chatter that investigators would have to carefully navigate in the days and weeks to come. The community responded, and the first wave of tips began to flow into the police department's dedicated phone line. The community held its breath, hoping for a swift and safe return. Meanwhile, detectives pushed forward to anchor a precise sequence of events. Every new lead would be measured against the clock. The police investigation began immediately. The first 2 days are often the most critical. Investigators knew they were racing against the clock. They started by securing any potential evidence. Esther's home, her vehicle. Forensic teams were called in to do a thorough sweep. They looked for anything out of the ordinary, searched for signs of a struggle, sought any piece of information that could point them in the right direction. Every minute was crucial. Police worked to build a concrete timeline of Esther's last known activities. They interviewed family, they interviewed friends, they asked about her routines, her relationships, any recent changes in her behavior. Detectives began collecting electronic data. They requested cell phone records, last calls, texts, location data from cell tower pings. They sought access to her social media accounts. Investigators looked at who she was communicating with online in the hours before she vanished. A physical search was organized. Police officers were mobilized. Search and rescue teams were mobilized. Volunteers were mobilized. They focused on areas Esther frequented, local parks, trails, neighborhoods she was known to visit. They checked with local businesses for witnesses. Security camera footage was requested from stores, traffic lights, private homes. Detectives sifted through hours of video, looking for a single image of Esther or her car. That visual evidence could provide a critical lead to trace her path. After weeks of intensive investigation, police announced a significant breakthrough. They had identified a suspect. The name was not immediately released to the public. Officials said the suspect was identified through traditional detective work and the analysis of digital evidence. The leads from Esther's online activity proved crucial. Investigators connected the digital dots. They traced social media interactions to one individual. That person had been part of the online conversation around the case. Zeroing in was methodical. Police cross-referenced online persona with real-world info, looking for connections between the suspect and Esther, checking for prior history or known association. Surveillance was likely initiated, establishing the suspect's movements around the disappearance. They needed to build a strong, evidence-based case before arrest. Prosecutors were consulted along the way. The decisive moment came when police executed an arrest warrant. Tactical teams moved in on the suspect's location. The arrest was made without incident, according to official statements. The suspect was taken into custody. This was the moment the case pivoted publicly from a mystery to a criminal proceeding. Following the arrest, the suspect was transported for booking. The booking process involves taking fingerprints, photographs, and recording the suspect's personal information. The suspect was formally told of the charges they were facing. The district attorney's office held a press conference to announce these charges. They were serious felonies: kidnapping, murder. Officials cited key evidence without detail to protect the future trial, including connections uncovered online and through physical searches. The suspect remains presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. After the arrest and charges, the case moved into the judicial system. The suspect's first appearance, the arraignment, formally presents charges before a judge. Typically, a suspect will plead not guilty at this early stage. The judge hears arguments on bail, prosecution citing flight risk and public safety, defense citing ties to community and presumed innocence. The judge may set high bail or deny it altogether. Both sides prepare through discovery. The prosecution shares reports, statements, forensic results, and all gathered information. The defense analyzes the case and may file motions to suppress evidence. Pre-trial hearings resolve legal questions before any jury is seated. This period can take months or years to ensure a fair trial. All the while, the suspect may remain in custody as the public waits for the process to reach its conclusion. The slow wheels of justice turn deliberately by design. The news of an arrest and the grim charges that followed sent a shockwave through the community. The hope for Esther's safe return was extinguished. Vigils were organized. People gathered, lit candles, and shared memories, offering support to her heartbroken family. Through representatives, the family thanked law enforcement and the community, while requesting privacy. The case sparked difficult conversations about online interactions, privacy, and caution. Online, focus shifted to the suspect. Outrage surged across timelines. Officials warned against a trial by media, reminding everyone of the right to a fair trial. They noted public condemnation could prejudice a jury pool. Grief and anger coexisted as the formal process continued. This case provides a powerful example of the dual role the public can play in modern investigations. Sharing Esther's poster created awareness at a speed law enforcement alone could not match. Community pressure helped keep the case a high priority, but amateur sleuthing can flood cases with unverified theories and accusations. False leads waste valuable time and resources. Digital vigilantism can harm innocent people. Agencies now dedicate staff to sift chatter, surface credible tips, and debunk rumors. The most helpful role a citizen can play: be a good witness, report to authorities, then allow professionals and the courts to do their work. It requires patience and trust in established systems, even when the desire for immediate answers is overwhelming. The unanswered question at the heart of the case. As of today, March 14, 2026, the case is in the hands of the judicial system. Let us restate the key facts we know for certain. Esther Estepa was reported missing by her family. An extensive investigation began, combining traditional police work with analysis of digital evidence. The public raised awareness and created confusion with speculation. Police identified a person of interest active online. Based on gathered evidence, an arrest followed with serious charges. After arraignment and bail proceedings, the case entered a lengthy pre-trial phase. Specific evidence and motive remain undisclosed. The full story will be told in court through testimony and exhibits. The system must determine guilt or innocence beyond a reasonable doubt. The suspect has been charged, not convicted. As we wait for a verdict, one question lingers in public debate. Do you think the suspect is guilty? Comment below, subscribe, and like to support our reporting.